the Tower Defense Simulator Halloween event. Or to say it in different words, the Tower Defense Simulator Lunar Overture event. What is my honest opinion on this event? Well, I'm just gonna talk about straight up everything. The battle pass, the event itself, like the axe, the necromancer, the jester, and just all of the new aspects of this event. I'll start off with the towers. Necromancer, I think it's pretty good, actually. I think they balanced the tower pretty well. Necromancer's pretty balanced. It's a cool idea for a tower. It's gonna come back every Halloween, which is cool. They set it up to come back every Halloween well. Like, they executed that well, I think. So yeah, overall, they did the Necromancer some good riddance. The Jester, this is kinda an unpopular opinion, but I think Jester is pretty balanced, honestly. I know it's overpowered, which is true, it is overpowered, but for being overpowered, I think it's pretty balanced, and it's also a unique tower idea. And I just like the idea of being able to choose, like, what kind of bomb he attacks with. So yeah, Necromancer and Jester, they're pretty good. I'll talk about the Battle Pass. The Battle Pass was done really well, in my opinion. One of the best things about the event. The skins are pretty good. The emotes are awesome. The name tag is pretty cool. I really love the name tag. And they kind of like nailed the idea of the skins and rewards from the Battle Pass getting better and the more you progress into the Battle Pass. They nailed that pretty well. And getting pumpkins is pretty painful, but all Battle Passes are painful. That's not just a TDS thing. I'll talk about the UGC. The idea of getting UGC from the event was amazing. I loved the idea, but when I found out that in order to get them, you have to beat the event, beat the act that the UGC goes with, and there's a random chance, just completely random chance, a low chance at that you just get the option to get the UGC is just kind of stupid, in my opinion. I hated that. Like, why make it random? Why can't you just, like, get the UGC just from beating it, and you can just beat it a couple more times to get the rest of the UGC items? Like, that was a fine idea. Like, maybe they could have came up with something more unique than that, but it didn't have to be a random chance of getting the UGC after winning. Like, come on, devs. Act 1, that was perfection. Act 1 was really good. I did have a couple complaints about Act 1, like the fact that for the first 10 waves of Act 1, they just reused First Contact for the soundtrack until we got to wave 10 and the map changed, and that's when the actual new soundtrack came. I thought that was a little bit lazy, but I thought, that's not a big deal, it's fine. I loved the fact that they had cutscenes. It was the first ever cutscenes that we've gotten in the history of TDS. The only thing in TDS's past that has gotten cutscenes is the hardcore overhaul update live event thing. I liked the lore with the Umbra. I loved the cutscenes. I loved how the narrator returned from Halloween 2020 from Trick or Threat Town. And now I did think it was kind of lazy of them how they didn't make all of the narrator's dialogue have voice acting, just probably because some of the most important or appealing dialogue got actual voice acting. But I thought it was fine. They did a lot of voice acting for the cutscenes anyway, so they kind of deserved that as a little break. But overall, Act 1 was pretty good. Act 2 was alright. It was alright. It only had one cutscene, but that one cutscene gave us a lot of lore. Like, it showed us how, like, the whole reason Halloween 2019 happened was because the Umbra sent out Jacobot to try to kill us. So, that was some good lore from just one cutscene. So they really only needed one cutscene, so that wasn't really a flaw. I think there was a little bit less narrator dialogue, which sucked kinda, but I thought it wasn't a big deal. Now, even though it was lazy of them to bring back the Harvesting Season soundtrack, Lord Sinister's soundtrack for the first 10 waves of Act 2, that was a little bit lazy, but I was kind of happy that they did it anyway, because it was one of my favorite tracks from the game anyway. And, yeah, overall, Act 2 was a little bit worse, in my opinion, but it was still really good. It was still really nice. I really liked it. I really had fun beating it, and it was a little bit more challenging, so that was cool. And then the moment you've been waiting for, Act 3. Act 3 was a mess. I liked how Act 3 had more UGC to be obtainable, but that doesn't even compare because there's so many bad things about Act 3. First of all, this is a very unpopular opinion, but I like the idea of Defend the Center, okay? I really do. Now, I think just having, like, the normal path, like, classic Tower Defense Simulator gameplay is better than Defend the Center, but don't get me wrong, I think Defend the Center is really unique. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure Tower Defense Simulator is the only one who had the idea of Defend the Center, unless they just, like, ripped it from, like, another Tower Defense game, I'm not sure. But I'm pretty sure Tower Defense Simulator came up with that idea, so that's cool. And they also did kind of change up the Defend the Center idea a little bit, because it had actual, like, paths. It was multiple paths, but it was basically Defend the Center with paths and multiple enemy entrances that it came from. The bad stuff. There were no cutscenes. There was no lore. I mean, no, it doesn't need to have lore. That's fine, but lore was kind of important, I think. They just became straight up lazy with this event because, first of all, the narrator had no voice acting, barely any dialogue either. The two bosses were literally just hands, like, if you wanted to make this event about the lore of all the other Halloween events we got from the past, right? You're gonna want the final boss of the entire event to be something, like, extremely crazy, something extremely, like, I don't know, mind-blowing, or, like, extremely hype. Like Lord Exo, for example. Lord Exo is basically just kind of a big bad of TDS, right? Like, I always thought it was the creator from Hidden Wave, but it's actually Lord Exo. At least that's what TDS is trying to tell us. That's what the game is trying to imply about the lore. So, you should have made the boss Lord Exo, or at the very least the narrator, since the narrator was mad at us for who knows why. And they should have, like, done a thing where, like, the narrator has dialogue where, like, okay, fine, I'll do it myself or whatever, I don't know. And he should have said something like that, since he was mad at us, right? So he should have, like, said that. It would have only been logical. And then, now, I really like that they didn't use any old soundtrack. All the soundtrack in Act 3 was completely new. I liked that, and the soundtrack was pretty good as well. But then Act 3 was, like, its whole story, because, like, it doesn't even show us, like, how we got here. Like, I kind of understand why the narrator was mad at us, because we, like, killed all of his actors. But that's a little bit understandable. It's very hard to get, though. But, like, it doesn't tell us how we go from a flashback about the carnival from the 2019 event to defend the center or defending the God Cube that was created by, I assume, Lord Exo. Like, how did we get there? Like, I understand why the narrator's mad, but, like, how did we get to, like, the God Cube stuff again? And also, it was extremely unbalanced when it first came out. First, it was near impossible. Then it became literally impossible after they fixed the freezer patch, which just showed it needed a nerf. Then they nerfed it, but they nerfed it too much, and it was incredibly easy. It just needed a little bit of RNG to win solo. But you could literally beat it solo with just Gold Soldier. It needed RNG, like good RNG, but it was very well possible. So they basically, they made it way too hard, then they nerfed it and made it way too easy. And it was just a mess. But overall, Act 3 was, like, the only bad thing about this event, but Act 3 was kind of like the main highlight, and they made the main highlight of the event this. And it's almost kind of sad that this is how they chose to execute Act 3. I honestly find it, like, kind of disappointing, you know. But anyways, yeah, that's my thoughts on this, just about every aspect of this event. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. You can subscribe if you want to. I don't really care if you do or not. And yeah, that's about all I had to say. So, yeah, bye.